Welcome to the Sleepy Philosopher. Tonight's reading comes from a timeless philosophical work, shared slowly and gently to help you unwind. There's nothing you need to do, and nowhere else you need to be. Now, relax and let the words fade into the background. Meditations, the second book. 1. Remember how long thou hast already put off these things, and how often a certain day and hour, as it were, having been set unto thee by the gods, thou hast neglected it. It is high time for thee to understand the true nature both of the world, whereof thou art a part, and of that Lord and Governor of the world, from whom, as a channel from the spring, thou thyself didst flow, and that there is but a certain limit of time appointed unto thee, which if thou shalt not make use of, to calm and allay the many distempers of thy soul, it will pass away, and thou with it, and never after return. 2. Let it be thy earnest and incessant care, as a Roman and a man, to perform whatsoever it is that thou art about, with true and unfeigned gravity, natural affection, freedom, and justice. And as for all other cares and imaginations, how thou mayest ease thy mind of them, which thou shalt do, if thou shalt go about every action as thy last action, free from all vanity, free from all passionate and willful aberration from reason, free from hypocrisy and self-love and dislike of those things which by the fates or appointment of God have happened unto thee. Thou seest that those things which are requisite and necessary for a man to hold on in a prosperous course and to live a divine life are not many, for the gods will require no more of any man than that he keep and observe these things. 3. Do, soul, do. Abuse and contemn thyself if thou must. Yet a little while, and the time for thee to respect thyself will be at an end. Every man's happiness depends upon himself. But behold, thy life is almost at an end, whilst, affording thyself no respect, thou dost make thy happiness to consist in the souls and conceits of other men. 4. Why should any of these things that happen externally so much distract thee? Give thyself leisure to learn some good thing and cease roving and wandering to and fro. Thou must also take heed of another kind of wandering, for they are idle in their actions, who toil and labour in this life, and yet have no certain scope to which to direct all their motions and desires. 5. For not observing the state of another man's soul, scarce was ever any man known to be unhappy. Tell whosoever they be, that intend not and guide not by reason and discretion the motions of their own souls, they must of necessity be unhappy. 6. These things thou must always have in mind. What is the nature of the universe, and what is mine in particular? This unto that. What relation hath it? What kind of part? Of what kind of universe is it? And that there is nobody that can hinder thee from always doing and speaking those things which are agreeable to that nature whereof thou art a part. 7. Theophrastus, where he compares sin with sin, says well, and like a philosopher, that those sins are greater, which are committed through lust, than those which are committed through anger. For he that is angry seems with a kind of grief and close contraction of himself to turn away from reason. But he that sins through lust, being overcome by pleasure, doth in his very sin bewray a more impotent and unmanlike disposition. Well then, and like a philosopher, doth he say that he of the two is the more to be condemned that sins with pleasure than he that sins with grief. For indeed this latter may seem first to have been wronged, and so in some manner, through grief thereof, to have been forced to be angry, whereas he who through lust doth commit anything, did of himself merely resolve upon that action. 8. Whatsoever thou dost effect, whatsoever thou dost project, so do, and so project all, as one who, for aught thou knowest, may at this very present depart out of this life. And as for death, if there be any gods, it is no grievous thing to leave the society of men. The gods will do thee no hurt, thou mayest be sure. But if it be so, that there be no gods, or that they take no care of the world, why should I desire to live in a world void of gods and of all divine providence? But gods there be certainly, and they take care for the world. And as for those things which be truly evil, as vice and wickedness, such things they have put in a man's own power, that he might avoid them if he would. And had there been anything besides that had been truly bad and evil, they would have had a care of that also, that a man might have avoided it. But why should that be thought? To hurt and prejudice a man's life in this world, which cannot in any way make man himself either better or worse. In his own person, neither must we think that the nature of the universe did through ignorance past these things, nor as unable either to prevent or better to dispose them. It cannot be that she, through want of power or skill, should have suffered all things, both good and bad, to happen alike unto all. As for life, therefore, and death, honour and dishonour, labour and pleasure, riches and poverty, all these things happen unto men indeed, both good and bad equally, but as things which of themselves are neither good nor bad, neither shameful nor praiseworthy. 9. Consider how quickly all things are dissolved and resolved, the bodies and substances themselves, into the matter of the world and their memories, into the general age and time of the world. Consider the nature of all sensible things, of those especially which ensnare by pleasure, or which for their irksomeness are dreadful, or for their outward lustre are held in esteem. How vile and contemptible, how base and corruptible, how destitute of all true life and being they are. 10. It is the part of a man endowed with a good understanding to consider what they themselves are in very deed, from whose bare conceits and voices honour and credit do proceed, as also what it is to die, and how, if a man shall consider death by itself alone, and separate from it in his mind all those things which usually represent themselves unto us, he can conceive of it no otherwise than as a work of nature. And he that fears any work of nature is a very child. Now, death is not only a work of nature, but also conducing to nature. 11. Consider with thyself how man, and by what part of his, is joined unto God, and how that part of man is affected when it is said to be diffused. There is nothing more wretched than that soul which in a kind of circuit compasseth all things, searching, as he saith, even the very depths of the earth, and prying into the thoughts of other men's souls, and yet is not sensible that it is sufficient for a man to apply himself wholly to the spirit within him, and truly to serve it. His service consisteth in this, that a man keep himself pure from all violent passion and evil affection, from rashness and vanity, from all manner of discontent, whether toward gods or men. For whatsoever proceeds from the gods deserves respect for their excellency, and whatsoever proceeds from men, as they are our kinsmen, should be entertained with love, and sometimes as proceeding from their ignorance of that which is truly good and bad, with a kind of pity and compassion also. 12. If thou shouldst live 3,000 years or 10,000, yet remember this, that man can part with no life properly, save with that little part which he now lives, and that which he lives is no other than that which at every instant he parts with, that then which is longest and that which is shortest come both to one effect. For although in regard of that which is already past, there may be some inequality, yet that time which is now present is equal unto all men, and that being it which we part with, whensoever we die, it doth manifestly appear that it can be but a moment that we lose. For that which is past or to come, a man cannot be said to part with. These two things, therefore, thou must remember. First, that all things in the world, from all eternity, by a perpetual revolution, are of one kind and nature. And secondly, that life, which the longest liver or the shortest liver parts with, is for duration the very same, for that only which is present is that which either of them can lose. 13. Remember that all is but opinion and conceit. Those things are plain, which were spoken unto Monimus the Cynic, and plain also is the use that may be made of them, if that which is true be received, as well as that which is pleasing. 14. A man's soul doth wrong itself when it becomes, as it were, an excrescence of the world. For to be grieved with anything that happens is a direct apostasy from the nature of the universe. Secondly, when she is averse from any man or led by contrary affections tending to his hurt. Thirdly, when she is overcome by pleasure or pain. Fourthly, when she doth dissemble and falsely either do or say anything. Fifthly, when she effecteth anything without a certain end. For even the least things ought not to be done without relation unto the end, and the end of reasonable creatures is to follow and obey the reason and law of this great commonwealth. 15. the time of a man's life is as a point, the substance of it ever flowing, the sense obscure, the body tending to corruption, the soul restless, fortune uncertain, fame doubtful. As a stream are all things of the body. As a dream or as smoke are all things of the soul. Life is warfare, a pilgrimage, fame after life is no better than oblivion. What then will endure? Only one thing, philosophy. And philosophy consisteth in this, to preserve that spirit within thee, from injury and contempt, to remain above pleasure and pain, to do nothing rashly, to depend upon thyself and thy own proper actions, to embrace all that happens as coming from the same source, from which thou thyself didst come, and above all, with meekness and calm cheerfulness, to expect death as nothing else but the resolution of those elements of which every creature is composed. And if the elements suffer nothing in their perpetual conversion one into another, why should their dissolution be feared? Is it not according to nature, and nothing that is according to nature can be evil?